Hey, it's Danny the plumber. Today I'm going to show you guys how to install a dishwasher with all the connections, including the air gap. This is the little part that sits on top of your sink or your countertop. It's required by code. And even the angle stop, which is the shutoff valve that goes underneath the kitchen sink. That's your water supply line. So let's get started. Today we have a GE, it's kind of a mid-range dishwasher. There's the model number if you're interested. And I'm going to first get started by cutting open the box at the cut line here. It's important to follow on the cut line so you don't damage any of the internal parts or the dishwasher itself. Next, we can just pull up the box. Now that I've got the box open, the next step is to open up the dishwasher and locate the directions, which are usually found inside the dishwasher. It's important to read the directions because some dishwashers will require certain things that others may not. So I'm going to take a quick second, read the directions, and then we'll get started. The next thing that I'll be doing is drilling a hole through the cabinets for the drain line. And this is going to go through the cabinet wood here to where the dishwasher is going to go. And the drain line is going to look like this. They're asking for an 1.5 inch drill bit. I have an 1 3/8 today. It'll fit, it'll work. So my hose will go through the hole that I'm about to drill, as well as the electrical. So what I like to do is, usually it's good to do it about 6 inches, within 6 inches of the bottom of the cabinet here. Not too close to the back, you don't want to blow out the cabinet. And this is how we do it. Get over here, Mike. So I drilled through the cabinet for the drain hose with my 1 3/8, 1.5 inch, maybe a little bit better, hole saw drill. And that just simply connects right onto a regular drill. Next, I like to take a file and quickly hit all the edges so there's no sharp edges around the hole that I just drilled. Okay, so the next step is to install an air gap. An air gap is to help protect the dishwasher from siphoning. You can get away with not using an air gap in some cities or states if you loop your drain hose that's going to be connected to your dishwasher as high up in the cabinet as possible, like this, and then back into the garbage disposal or a Y branch tailpiece like this that'll sit there. If you don't have a garbage disposal, a Y branch tailpiece would connect right in. It would sit in somewhere in your drain line like that and connect in like that. But you have to loop this up as high as possible, up like this, to install this correctly. But today we're going to use an air gap. It's even better, and this is how it comes, a couple pieces. So this is just a decorative cover. We'll put that on last. Next is a nut, a little gasket here, and a flat washer. I'll simply stick up the air gap like this in through the bottom, and it'll sit on the top of the sink. Now there's two different sizes on the air gap right here. And so what I'm going to do is, I know that this side is going to be connected to the dishwasher and this side will be connected to the garbage disposal later. So I'll put this side, the smaller side, facing closer to the dishwasher, and I'll slide it up through the hole in the sink, put it there like that. First is your flat washer. Next is the gasket, and this is the waterproofing seal, so the water, when it hits the top of the sink, doesn't go underneath the cabinet. Next is your nut. Screw it down I'm backing it up underneath with my hand underneath the sink here. I'm just grabbing a hold of the air gap. It's pretty hard to see, just so it doesn't spin on me while I tighten it. Now that I've got it pretty well hand tight with my hand, you can even take a pair of channel locks and give it a little more turn. You see it moved because I wasn't backing it up like that. Then simply put the cover back on, and this should be facing towards the sink, because if it backs up, water will spit out of here and into the sink instead of having dirty sewage water go back into your brand new dishwasher. So that's it for the air gap up on top. All right, the next step, because I'm connecting it to my garbage disposal, and this is where it'll be connected into, is to remove the knockout plug. There's just a solid piece of plastic in here that prevents water from leaking if you do not have a dishwasher. But because I have a dishwasher, I'm going to have to remove this and knock out the knockout plug. If you have an existing setup where it was already connected into the garbage disposal, you can obviously skip this step because the knockout plug has already been knocked out. So I'm going to quickly remove the garbage disposal. I've disconnected the electrical, the plumbing, and now I'm ready to remove the garbage disposal with the garbage disposal key that they always provide with a garbage disposal. But I put this garbage disposal so tightly in that it's hard for me to get my key in these little grooves. They have 3 grooves on here. So what I'm going to do first to kind of jump start it is take a screwdriver and a hammer and just tap lightly on it counterclockwise to remove this. You see that thing starting to move. Now I'll be able to get my garbage disposal key. You can also use an Allen wrench to slide in here. Now it goes in place there. Put your hand under the garbage disposal and turn counterclockwise, freeing the garbage disposal from the garbage disposal flange. The next step is to flip the garbage disposal on its side, and here's the knockout plug. It's actually inside right there, just a flat piece of plastic in there. So what I'll do is I'll take a screwdriver, a chisel will work just fine, and give it a couple hits, or just 1 or 2. And that knockout plug is now knocked out, allowing the water to flow inside this garbage disposal like this. Be sure and look in here and remove the little tab, the knockout plug itself. You don't want to keep that in there while you fire it up. And here's the knockout plug, simply a little piece of plastic tab that they've created to prevent water from leaking out if you do not have a dishwasher. So that's that. Let's get the garbage disposal back in. Okay, so the next step, because this is a remodeled kitchen, I have to put the angle stops on, which are the shutoff valves underneath here. This is just stubbed out for me to get my angle stop in, and the correct size of this angle stop, if you have 1/2-inch pipe, like it's pretty common, pretty normal, this is 1/2-inch copper, so I'm going to use a 1/2 inch, which goes on here. This is 1/2 inch by 1/4 inch. This is the where my hose screws into here. So we're going to put this thing on. The first step to do that is to shut off the main water supply of your house, which I've already done. Get a bucket, because you still will have a little residual water, get a tubing cutter, or if you don't have access to a tubing cutter, a hacksaw, if you cut it nice and straight, will work just fine. Another example of a tubing cutter is something like that, but I've got a small one today for tight places that I'll use. And it's important to kind of see where your cut's going to go. So I'm going to take my flange here. I'm going to put a flange on there which sticks out another 1/4 inch or so, and I want to leave a little copper there, so I'll kind of just mark, right there where my finger is here, and that's where I'll want my cut to be. Now that that's cut, what I'll do is I'll give it a quick cleaning, get some of this paint off of here with just some sand cloth, or a wire brush may work just fine. Next step, get a reamer or a deburring tool of some sort. We're ready for our flange to go on. Okay, now we're ready for the angle stop. Once again, if this is just a replacement dishwasher, obviously you guys can skip this whole step that I'm doing here. So this is a compression angle stop, 1/2 inch by 1/4 inch on top. A little trick is to get some pipe joint compound or heavy duty thread sealing compound, or as the plumbers call it, pipe dope. Put a little tiny bit on the threads, and what this does is it just allows when you're screwing it on for it to turn easier. This does not help with the sealing part of it, so in other words, this doesn't prevent leaks. This just makes it a little bit easier to screw it on. And then we'll put our nut on first. That little guy, which is where it seals right there. This is a brass ferrule. Then this thing, make sure it's all the way seated. Tighten this nut clockwise. And because I know my hose is coming over here, I'm not going to keep it straight up and down. I'm going to leave it at an angle like that so my hose can go straight in. My flex connector will go straight into it. Now we need 2 crescent wrenches, one here and one here, to do the final tightening up of the angle stop. This crescent wrench here is just backing it up, holding this in place, while this one I'm going clockwise to tighten that nut and squish that ferrule down so it makes the seal between the pipe. Okay, I got it pretty tight. What you want to do is make sure that's in the off position and you're ready to get the water back on for your whole house so your wife doesn't yell at you. One point that I want to make is the angle stop here, I forgot to mention, is on the hot side always when you're dealing with a dishwasher. It's always going to be the hot, and the hot should always be on the left side. If you're facing your setup here, the angle stops on the right side are the cold ones, and on the left side is the hot ones. But you should, if you're not sure, you should connect it up and verify that this is hot, because dishwasher requires the hot water to really thoroughly clean the dishes. So remember to connect the angle stop to the hot side. Okay, so the next step is to remove any shipping protection stuff that came with the dishwasher. In this case, there's some wood on the bottom. Each and every dishwasher is different. Sometimes it's just plastic or styrofoam type stuff, but this one, they've got some wood attached to the bottom. This is why it's important to read the directions, because all these dishwashers are slightly different. So now we've got some bolts right here that we're going to have to unscrew. Now that we've got the shipping frame removed, we can discard that and screw the leveling legs back in. And you want to go pretty far in, about half an inch from the frame, I would say, on all of them. And we'll level it perfectly once the dishwasher is in place. Alright, so the next step is to remove the toe kick. The toe kick is just this black piece of metal right here, and that's done by a 1/4-inch nut driver or a Phillips head screwdriver on this model, which is pretty common. One screw there. And the second screw. Make sure you don't lose those. You will have to replace this, put this back together with the toe kick later. So I'll set that aside for later use. The next step, while we have the dishwasher still on its back, is to install the water supply. Okay, so this is done in 2 different ways that are common. The most common way is the 3/8 elbow or 90-degree fitting. And this is a brass fitting that usually screws one side into the dishwasher and the other side goes to the flex connector hose. This model is a little different. It's got its own little 90-degree, which is essentially the same thing. So this one is has got a rubber gasket on it, so there's no need for the Teflon tape. If you're installing this style, you do put the Teflon tape on the dishwasher part, which would be right here, 3/8 around the 3/8 fitting on the dishwasher. But today we have this one with the gasket, so there's no need for the Teflon tape. So we'll just screw that in, making sure we don't cross thread. Anytime we have brass to plastic, it's super easy to cross thread. And what cross threading means is you start these threads at an angle and it really messes the threads up on the plastic part. Obviously, the plastic is weaker than the brass. So making sure that I'm not cross-threaded, I'll get that started, and then I'll finish it off with some channel locks and tighten it fully. And remember to keep the elbow part facing the back of the dishwasher, or when it's laying on its back, it's going to be facing downward. So this is going, when I lift the dishwasher back up, obviously this is back going towards the wall, the back of the dishwasher. You want it snug, but don't over tighten it. It's just plastic here, this could break. Okay, so once that's in, we're ready for our next step. Alright, so now we're ready to connect the drain hose. They provided in this model a second part up to the drain hose. Some models have a long enough one where you can just slide this whole one piece underneath the cabinet that we hole in the cabinet that we drilled. But this model, they want us to connect this part of the hose to the hose that they provided. So that's simply done by sliding your hose clamp on first, pushing this in as far as you can with your hand so it's snug in there, and then tightening up the hose clamp with your nut driver. So the next step is to get your water supply, which is our 3/8 hose. This is a 3/8 flexible braided stainless steel hose by 72 inches on this one, and slide it through the hole in the cabinet. And if your electrical does not come out of the wall in the back of your dishwasher, then you will and it plugs in here, then you'll have to stick this one through the hole as well. So this one, in my case, because the electrical is coming through this side of the cabinet, I'll have to slide it through. If it's coming out of the wall, there'll be 2 wires, a black and a white. You'll connect those 2 wires, the black and the white, with the black and the white on the dishwasher itself. Pretty easy. So this will go through. And what we'll do is I'll take this hose and I'll put it to the left side of the opening over here, because that is where my dishwasher connection is. It's on the left side for the water. If you take your dishwasher, you put it upside down, you'll see the connection is on the left side. The electrical is on the right side. So what I'll do is I'll put this on the right side and just kind of leave it in here like this. And we're ready to put the dishwasher in. Okay, so lastly, before we get the dishwasher in, we still have one hose, the drain hose. And that also will go through the hole in the cabinet here. And you want to pull a lot of the slack out of it, because when you slide the dishwasher in, you don't want these 3 hoses and wires here to get messed up in any sort of way. It's important to get these hoses and the wiring in the proper places. So if you can see this, I'm going to slide this back so you can see. I want to make sure that this thing ends up lining up with my water connection way over here. So I'll kind of just put it in place right there and just kind of leave it as I push this hose in. This part's sometimes a little bit tricky, and I'll do the same for the electrical. And I'll just kind of slide this thing, start sliding it back, keeping these 2 in their proper places. Here's my electrical. I'm going to pull this one out right now as I push it in. and do the same with the water. I've got those two. You want to make sure that the insulating blanket doesn't bunch up when you slide it in also. Okay, now we'll connect the water supply line. So to connect the water supply line, you simply take your 3/8 hose and connect it to the brass part that we put in here. In the directions, they said to face it going backwards. Each model is a little different. Your model may not be easiest facing backwards. This one's actually not that easy facing the way it's facing, but we'll get it in there. Start with hand tight as far as you can go. Then I'll take a small open-ended wrench, crescent wrench, put it on there, and you only get a few very small amount of turns because of the position here. Okay, so now I got that thing pretty tight, and a lot of times what I'll do is I will actually connect this hose first while this dishwasher is laying on its back. That's another option. It's a little bit easier. They recommended in the directions to do it this way, but a lot of times I put the hose on first, so you're not working in such a small confined space here. Okay, now we're ready for the electrical. The electrical, they've provided me with this little plastic thing right here, and all that does is go through this hole, which is kind of nice, but a lot of models you will need a little adapter like this. This is for the electrical, and that simply has two parts to it. One that is the little nut, and you can put it on like this, put that through there, put your wires through this little hole in the back, and tighten it up with that nut right like this. And then that secures the wires, and then you can take those screws and screw it down. But this one, they make it real simple. Stick the wires through, and it's got a nice little plastic thing, locks in place like that, and you're ready to wire the wires up. Obviously, green goes with green, black goes with black, white goes with white. What I mean by that is the wires on the dishwasher connecting to the wires on your electrical plug here. So I'll quickly just get all the little frays out, and then I'm ready to connect it with 3 wire nuts. Now that we've got the 3 wire nuts in place, matching all the colors properly, it's time to get the box on. This is a metal box that just kind of protects the electrical from water or anything else. So this box, you can see right here, there's a little screw right there. This is for a screw, and it lines up with that one right there. So it kind of just slides into place. And once again, all this is a lot easier if this dishwasher is on its back sometimes. Okay, so it locked in a little groove in the back right there. Kind of hard to see. See if I can get some light on it. Way in the back there. It's got a little groove, and that also lines up on the left side with my screw hole. And I'm ready to put the screw in. Like that. And that was with the 1/4-inch nut driver. I got that screw in there. Okay, so the electrical's all in. It just needs to be plugged in when we're ready. The next step is to install the mounting brackets. And they're just simply these little metal pieces that slide in like this. And there's oftentimes a groove just for it, just like this. And then a screw that goes in here to hold this bracket in place. So I'm lined up with another hole in the metal. Let me show you in the front here. See the hole right here is going to be lined up with this hole here and slid right in between like this and held together with one screw like so. And we'll do the same thing for the other side. Now that we've got the brackets on, we're going to leave it alone for now, but later we're going to take a wood screw and slide it in through one of these holes here and drill it or just screw it into the wood underneath your countertop. Usually if it's granite, there will be some wood here, or tile, there will be wood underneath. But we're not going to do that quite yet. The next step is we're going to have to level this thing. Each floor is different, so they don't come pre-leveled. You have to level it by yourself. So what you'll do is you'll stick it in, slide it in position, making sure that those hoses underneath are all okay and not bunched up, as well as the electrical wire. And we'll start leveling. The way you do this is you need a level like this, and you can put it right here, number one, and I can see that I'm a little bit off, so I'm higher on this side. The level is indicating in the center that the bubble is on the high side. When the bubble's on the high side, that's the high side. So I know my left side, if you come down here and look, is it's higher on this side. So what I'll do, because I have plenty of space in between here and here, is I'll raise the right side a little bit. And that's simply done by these legs down here. Those legs that we installed, we're going to have to slide these things up. So I'll remove some weight off the dishwasher and I'll slide this one up. And I may have to do the back one. I may have to slide this whole thing out and do the back one, but I'm going to check right now and see where I'm at. When leveling the dishwasher, another thing you want to consider is the front and back of the dishwasher and how level that is. And you can check that by putting your level on the face of the dishwasher, and I can see the level is off here, so I'm going to have to adjust those back legs a little bit as well. If the back legs are lower or higher, it's going to affect it like this way. So put it here and get your adjust those legs. Now I'm getting a little closer to level, but I'm noticing I'm really unlevel when I do this. And I take a look underneath, and you can see that that back right leg is not touching the ground, and that's where I'm getting the wobble from. So what I'll do is I'll screw that leg down closer to the floor. And I can screw this leg down closer to the floor. I don't even need to pull the whole dishwasher out. I can relieve a little of the weight by pulling it forward and putting my hand down there. And lowering the leg. Alright, so by adjusting those four legs and playing with them, going up and down, I've got this dishwasher pretty well leveled. And I'll check it here. I'll check it on its side right here. And we can also sometimes check it right up on the top if you've got any room there. And then we're pretty close to being level on all of them. And you can kind of wiggle it, and it's not rocking back and forth in any way. So now we'll slide it in to its final position, and make sure you don't hit it with your knee right here. You will dent the face of the dishwasher. So you just kind of slowly push it in like this and get it where it's nice, and you want each of these sides to be equal in a couple of different ways. Equal distance between this gap here and this gap here. I've got more of a gap on this side, as you can see right now. This is a larger gap. So I'll slide it over and kind of play with it this way. And also, we want to make sure that we're equally in on both sides, so we're not further like this on the dishwasher. So that's will be affected by this line right here. You'll be able to see this line is equal and this line is equal. So it's a lot of maneuvering and pushing back and forth and kind of just playing with the dishwasher to make sure it's level and it's equal distance on both sides, and it sits real nicely. So this is going to take a little bit of time, just playing with it back and forth, but this is probably the hardest part of the whole dishwasher, just to make it nice and perfect. So I'm going to continue doing that and get this thing nice and perfect, and then we'll get our final screws up on the top. Some dishwasher models include a side trim piece, which simply is just put on like this. Clips in, there's little grooves on it, and this is just for a visual thing. When you slide the dishwasher in place, you don't see a big gap, and you see just a little rubber, and we'll get that in real nicely later on, and so you don't see a big gap in between the cabinet and the dishwasher. Now that it's nice and leveled and I've got equal distance all around, it's time to put the metal brackets, the screws in the metal brackets that we installed earlier in. So those are the brackets, and they're ready just to be screwed up into the wood. And the same thing for the other side. And this prevents the dishwasher from tipping or moving in any direction. Okay, now it's time to get under the cabinet here all these connections in. The water, very simple, goes to your angle stop. This part's discarded. And what I'll do is I'll turn the water on right now, and it'll give me some time to see if there's any leaks here or underneath before I do the final connection with the toe kick underneath the dishwasher. Meanwhile, you can plug your unit in. Verify you have power. We do. We're good with that. And we're ready to connect the drain hose into the air gap up above. And that, if you remember me earlier speaking of it, goes into the one side, and the other side will be connected with a 7/8 dishwasher hose that looks like this. This is a 7/8 dishwasher hose. You can buy it at any hardware store. See. You will also need a couple hose clamps to connect it all together. Okay, so I've taken my air gap off so you guys can see what I'm doing. And it might be easier for you to do it down here as opposed to underneath the kitchen cabinet laying on your back. Okay, so I've got my 7/8 dishwasher hose. This one connects to the air gap on the fatter side. Screw it in as much as possible. Follow it up with a hose clamp. And tighten that down. Then this side, you'll notice, is pretty fat right on top. So what I'll do, and they want you to do this, is cut this off sometimes. So I can just cut it right there. Now it'll fit nice and snug. And depending on your application here, you may or may not have to cut that. Ready for the hose clamp on this side. Air gap goes up through the hole once again. Now we're ready to test the dishwasher. So remove any plastic, paper, cardboard, tape, bags, or styrofoam that's in the dishwasher. Fire it up. And we want to look underneath the toe kick area for any leaks. Any leaks on our water supply line, which is that one. Once we're satisfied there's no leaks underneath, we'll take the toe kick and we'll place that back in place with those two screws that we removed earlier. Thank you for watching my how to install a dishwasher video. Please subscribe.